Hey guys, the first thing I did was fold one piece of paper over. That gets you the size of your very first large petals. So I just wanted to show you that for the size. Then I folded 4 pieces of paper with the large leaf. So I've got that. Then I took this piece of paper, another set. I think I might have 5 or 6 pieces in here. And I folded it over again. So it was the first sheet of paper folded. I made a big leaf here and then 2 sets of smaller leaves. So I have a large set, a medium set, and a small set. And I think the key is having this be a little bit thicker at the top and coming down like a petal of a flower on this one. It really doesn't matter how you have it either. The top could have a different shape if you like that. I'm just going to draw this with a Sharpie so you can see it better on the video. But I would draw these in a light pencil line like I always say. That way you have the choice of not seeing the pencil marks. So all of a sudden, if I wanted to give it a little different shape, it really doesn't matter as long as it's thicker up top, not too thin at the bottom, because those are going to be glued together. So there you go with that. Those are your basic shapes to make your flower. In the middle part of the flower, we're gonna fold a sheet of paper over this way, and we're gonna fold a piece of paper over this way. Then maybe we'll do it again. And we'll get back to that later. Now, I'm gonna take my scissors. I'm gonna cut all those pieces of paper together just so it's easy. And I get the very first set of big petals. Here's some scrap paper, which I'm sure we'll figure out something to do with that later. This could be done with newspaper, magazines. It could be done with anything. I had some extra yellow paper, so that's what I'm using. So I've got the big leaves all cut out. Now I'm going to cut out the medium leaves, petals I should say, for this flower. These were attached with a fold, so I'm just going to cut the bottom. So I have another set of medium leaves, and then I'll cut out these sets of smaller leaves. If you have the basic shape right, it really, really doesn't matter if they're perfectly cut or exactly the same. They can be similar. You don't want to cut out. You'd like to cut them out all at the same time if you can, but if you can't, that's okay. So it just makes it easier. So now I've got 3 sets. I've got large, medium, and small. And then the first thing I'll do is I'm going to arrange these in a circle. I'm going to use a little bit of glue. And I'm going to glue them around in a circle. And it doesn't take that much glue either. And you could do 5, you could do 6, You could do 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You kind of want to space them around a little bit. Maybe try to get them as even as you can, so it actually just looks like a flower. Okay. So here's that. I ended up using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I ended up with 3 extra. We'll use those later for something else. The next thing I'll do, you leave a wide open hole in the middle. So that's going to help that out. Is I just put a nice circle of glue around. Makes it easier than gluing one thing at a time. And in between, I'm going to come in a little bit more. And in the middle of these, I'm going to set another layer of leaves. I'm going to come down a little bit more into that circle. If it's a little bit off, that's okay. Those were stuck together, so I'm just taking those apart. So there you have your first layer and your second layer. If anything really needs to be glued down, you could glue it down a little bit more, just to be sure they all stay. And then a third layer. I'm going to do this. I have leftovers of these too. And if I wanted, I could do another set. Maybe I'll do that. I'll use my leftover leaves. 2, 3, 4. This one has the pen on it, so I think if I were really going to use this one, I would just cut off so you don't see the Sharpie lines. And maybe add a little more glue. So now what I sort of have is 1, 2, 3 layers. I'll do another circle. Oops. Then I'll take my smallest set. I remember making a ton of these for a project I did a number of years ago where I filled a big wall with flowers. This one has that Sharpie on it, so I think I'm gonna either put that aside and use it later or cut off that Sharpie line. I'm gonna add another set here. And this is all done with just plain old paper. It could be white paper, pink paper, copier paper. You could take a bunch of pink pieces of paper from a magazine. Remember how we did that for our collage? I think I'll put another layer. Maybe I'll make this layer even smaller. So all of a sudden my leftover next set, I could just take that, cut a little bit off the bottom, and make another layer so it's going in each time. There's many ways to do this. This is just one way. I just want to make sure these are all sticking, so I'm going under that a little bit. And we've got a flower with a bunch of layers. It could be a little less, it could be a little more. Then, here's a regular piece of paper. Let's say you folded it in half and folded it again. let's see, or really you only need a strip of piece of paper. Let's fold it in half and cut it down the middle. We'll cut it again. What you want to end up with is a piece of paper that's kind of fuzzy. This could be the center. Did you end up seeing that? I don't know. Let's try that again. So you take your piece of paper, you cut some straight lines so that when you open it up, it's folded in the middle. And got these straight lines. See that? I have 2 of them. And then we'll put those down. Maybe we'll go like this. I'll put some glue in the middle. And we'll glue one of them down. This flower will be all yellow. You could use whatever you want. Same with the color in the middle. Now, that's kind of boring. It's very flat. So what you would do is, you would take this and you would crumple that up in the beginning. Crumple this to start. You kind of squish it together. And it can be a little messy, but you're just creating sort of the center of the flower. You know, a lot of times you see the center of a flower and something's there. All that in the middle. That's more interesting. Now, you take these leaves and you can sort of do what you want to fluff them up. I sort of fold them up a little bit and squish them together. Fold them up. So all of a sudden this flower that you're making is becoming a little bit more 3D. One thing you can also do is you could roll the side of one so it looks like a little petal. But it doesn't even have to be that delicate. Again, you can just fold it up and squish those together a little bit. This is a really nice thing to do to make for somebody, like a little decoration. Mother's Day is coming, so that would be nice for a mother, an aunt, a grandmother, a friend. So what I'm doing, you see this right here? All the layers just get a little bit bigger. And you fold them together and kind of push them forward. See what I'm doing with my fingers? Or if I did it with 2 hands, I would pinch it a little bit. Pinch it a little bit. And just sort of not crumple it up like that, but just sort of lift them up a little. And if you push it forward and push it down a little bit, it means it'll come up like this. Again, it'll be more 3D, a little more interesting, and a little more flower-like. And then the end, you see that? I've done anything from rolling each one. Roll it one way. Or you could do the same thing that I did in the center. But if you roll it, again, it just makes it look a little more interesting and the paper sort of remembers what you've done. There you go. And again, this is a